Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Oz Hussain, and I'm the CEO of Casino Science. I would like to thank you for attending today's webinar entitled What Every Casino Marketer Should Know About Business Intelligence, How LCO Casino is Maximizing Its Microsoft Investment. Today we have a really great session for you. We have David Church. David is the Director of IT for LCO Casino, Lodge, and Convention Center. He'll be presenting their story on how they leveraged their existing Microsoft investments and created a data-centric culture. You know, I had the great pleasure of working with David at his casino. He is an expert in casino IT. He's a passionate technologist, and he's a really engaging storyteller. And in a few minutes, we'll hear from David. But first, some housekeeping items. If you run into any technical problems during today's session, please feel free to send a private message in the webinar control panel, and a moderator will connect with you. Next, we would like folks to ask questions of our presenters today. So please submit your questions using the webinar control panel under the questions section, and we'll answer your question during the Q&A portion of the webinar. And for those who could not attend today's presentation, we'll be recording this session for later viewing on the Casino Science website. And lastly, at the end of the webinar today, we have a very quick 30-second survey. Please fill it out and provide your feedback. Now, I'd like to introduce my colleague and friend, Don Leonetti from Microsoft, to get us started with a few words. Don?
Yeah, thank you, Oz, and welcome everybody. Thanks for your attendance today. I wanted to just take a quick minute here and let you know I'm Don Leonetti. I cover the tribal government and gaming market, and I've been doing this for 9 years for Microsoft. So I think I know most of you on the phone today, and we thank you again for joining. I met Oz Hussain a few months back at the NIGA show, National Indian Gaming, and Oz is a former Microsoft employee, and we started chatting, and he told me a little bit about his company. And I thought it really hit a sweet spot that many clients have been asking me, how can we better use our existing Microsoft investments in SQL Server and the power behind SQL and the reporting services and business intelligence, how can we better utilize that to help our marketing efforts? And Oz, perfect entree and segue to what Oz does is exactly that. They want to take what you already are using and doing with SQL Server and really dive deeper into some of the more the latest capabilities with SQL Server 2016 coming. There's just more and more coming with Power BI and the SQL reporting services and the ability to really slice and dice that data for the ability of your casino to really target your players and kind of do that ad hoc reporting. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to Oz and his team, and just let you all know that I'm 100% here and always available. Anything Microsoft related, you can always reach out to me. So Oz, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks for a few moments there.
Great. Thanks, Don. Yeah, and as Don was saying, I am ex-Microsoft. I spent a significant portion of my career in the SQL Server business, and so I'm very familiar with that, and I'm really excited about talking about these technologies and how they can be applied in casino environments. So today's modern casinos, they produce an enormous amount of data for marketers to leverage. But like a lot of casino marketers, they're very busy. There are significant challenges in working with all this data. And a lot of these challenges, all of you have actually faced. They're the cost challenges. I always hear when I'm out and talking to casino operators that BI tools, they can be really expensive, and we live in a world where we have very limited budgets. There's also the time challenges. It can take days or weeks to get access to data, and commonly what I hear from marketers is whenever I need to get access to that data, I have to put in a request to my IT team or my BI team, and that causes me a lot of challenges because there's delays in getting to that data. And if I have to make a decision, and that decision is going to be time bound, I need to make that decision really, really quickly. I can't be sitting around waiting for 2-3 weeks to get a raw pull of that casino data. And then the last one is really around skills. Sometimes I hear from operators that a lot of our folks, they don't have the necessary skills to extract that data from all these different casino systems. So ultimately, a lot of folks, they end up believing that they need new tools or they need new technologies. While this might be reasonable in certain situations, most casinos actually already have a lot of what they need in order to be successful. Now, if you look at the investments you've made in your own casino systems, you have investments in the casino management system, in slot systems, POS, hotel. All of these systems have something in common because in most cases, they work in conjunction with SQL Server. And this is a SQL Server, as most of you know, is Microsoft's enterprise database product. This product is the most widely deployed database used in casinos today, full stop. And this is the case across all of these different types of systems within your casino. Now, most people don't realize that because you have SQL Server as your database, you can also leverage all the business intelligence tools that allow analysts or marketers to make sense of all that casino data. Most casinos have enterprise agreements or select agreements with Microsoft, and Don can certainly validate this. And that entitles you to all the technologies you need to really empower your analysts and marketers to be really successful with casino data. And advanced Microsoft BI tools like Power Query and Power BI are free. And the skills that are required to leverage these tools and technologies, they're the same tools most people are already intimately familiar with. So the types of tools that your folks are using today, the types of tools that your analysts or your marketers are using, these are the same types of tools that you would use to interact with large swaths of casino data. And the tools that you can leverage that these folks are using are primarily things like Excel. The bottom line here is that you should continue to leverage everything that you already own before you actually start looking at new tools to solve those types of problems you can't with your current technology. So let's make it a little bit more real. Let's give some concrete examples here so this makes a little bit more sense. Imagine that you have an idea for a time-sensitive promotion, but you need to review your player demographic data first to understand the sizing and the promotion costs. Well, putting in an IT request, as I mentioned before, to pull all this data could take days or weeks. But imagine if you could actually do this on your own. Imagine if you could use Microsoft's Power Query for Excel and you connect directly to your casino data source and you import that data on your own. And then using the power of Excel, you can quickly and efficiently build whatever report you need to gain insight and make a decision. And this example is real today. You don't need to go to an IT person. You don't need a developer to actually build a report for you. You can actually go get the data and build a report on your own. Let's hear another example. Let's say you're thinking of reconfiguring the slot machines on your floor, but first you want to understand the daily or the weekly or the monthly profitability for each machine. Well, using Power BI, you could build a really engaging report visualization that connects directly to your data source without requiring an IT developer. And then when using Power BI, you could then build a tree map to illustrate that relative profitability for each machine. Or you could build a map of your casino floor with KPI indicators for each machine, allowing you to actually visualize the best configuration. Again, in these two examples, the decision maker is empowered to do really three things. He or she can get access to the casino data completely on their own. They can build a report and analyze the data, and then they can take some action. And from this, the time from insight to action is very, very quick. So with that, I'd like to now introduce our primary speaker for today. Dave Church. Dave is the Director of IT at LCO Casino, Lodge, and Convention Center in Hayward, Wisconsin. He is leading the organization's data-centric transformation. His extensive IT career spans over 15 years with experience in both commercial and tribal gaming. He has worked with several large casino IT organizations during his career, including stints at both Caesars Entertainment and Harrah's. Dave?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dave Church, as mentioned. I'm the IT director for LCO Casino. LCO stands for the Coup de Ray, the Band of Chippewa Indians. I've been there since June of 2014. And if those of you not familiar with Hayward, Wisconsin, we're way up north in Wisconsin, almost into Canada. We're most famous for the annual American Birkebeiner, which is a cross-country ski race. I like to call it the Birkie. They hold that once a year in the winter, and the winters do last long. Also, if you follow ESPN, we always have the World Lumberjack Championships held here in Hayward. Anyway, I've participated in neither one of them, just for the record. Anyway, who is David Church? I'm originally from about 3 hours south of here, the Stockbridge-Muncie Reservation. I apologize, Oz. I should have told you. Next slide.
No worries.
Thank you. I was born and raised in that area. We were the last band of Mohican Indians, and I started in gaming in 1989 when I was 19 years old, started calling bingo. And I've progressed over the years into table games, operations. I got 6 years of that. And as Oz mentioned, I ended up with Caesars Entertainment in about the mid-90s, 1995 in table games, and in about 97 I switched over to the IT side of gaming. I've done several stints with them at their corporate offices. At that time, they were in Memphis, Tennessee. They've moved to Vegas since then, obviously. I've spent time at Harrah's, New Orleans. I was the IT manager for the Horseshoe Casino in Bossier City, Louisiana. My most recent stint with Caesars was in 2011. I opened up the Horseshoe Casino in Cleveland, Ohio, as well as supported the ongoing operations and bringing slots into the Thistledown Casino there as well. That's basically me in a nutshell. So I ended up here in LCO in 2000, as mentioned, 2014 June, and when I got here, we had several marketing challenges. If you go to the next slide, please, Oz. There we go. In 2014, I come back to Wisconsin because, number one, it's my home state. Number two, it was a director's position with a casino where I had a very good former colleague that, invited me to come here for this position. So the bottom line is when we got here, we had some marketing challenges. And then it was running very inefficiently. And I noticed this from coming from an outside gaming perspective. And basically, I tried working with them a little bit, and things got better. But ultimately, over the progression of the past 2 years, about I would say 6 months ago, the database analyst quit within marketing. So that became a bigger challenge yet because there was nobody to fulfill that role at that point. So what we had to do was to basically kind of take over, to be honest with you, from an IT perspective, because there was nobody, marketing. SQL is a computer function, and I don't know how many IT people we got out there in the casino world, but sometimes if it plugs in the wall, you become responsible because they think you do it all the time. And in my former life with Caesars, it wasn't in that way. Marketing was marketing and IT was IT. But the bottom line is I had to look at the existing documentation that was left over, and there wasn't very much left. And so I had to do an analysis of the marketing environment, what they were using, and they had, because of our slot system, which is a legacy of the old Aristocrat Oasis system, we had antiquated DBA tools because we were limited to SQL 2000. So we're dealing with, query analyzer is what they were doing most of their analysis and queries with. they weren't doing anything with the data they were pulling really. And you know, the resources were very limited due to our rural area. As mentioned, you know, we have seasonal traffic, lots of cross-country skiers in the winter, have a little lumberjack type people, but they're not staying. They're coming just for them events. Anyways, so we had to make do with what we could do. So we analyzed, and we knew that, you know, number one, time is a factor because we need to get our mailers out. We need to get our offers out to our people, and money. Small budget. We don't make a whole lot of revenue at this casino, but and if you do contracted services, which was probably the best option at the time, that can get very expensive. Next slide, please, Oz. As mentioned, situational analysis, you know, the important thing for me as an IT director was the marketing analysis, pulling of queries and pulling of data was falling on IT. And it was becoming a bit time-consuming, and our regular IT duties were becoming neglected. We're a staff of 3 people. So basically we needed to figure out how we can help marketing find a replacement solution for that DBA that was so desperately needed. And prior to that, the DBA person that we did have in there wasn't the greatest, but she did okay. But so I had not intended on renewing our support contract with Aristocrat, because that was a it's a legacy system. There's no more upgrades coming out. There were no more patches or anything, and they were charging a pretty good amount of money, and I figured we could go on an on-call basis until we either upgraded that system or switched to a different system. But now at this point, because of we're going to have a new DBA people, we would I would have to renew that contract to the tune of about $140,000 a year. But the bottom line is we need some outside help. And between myself and our marketing heads, we decided to each go in our own direction to try to find the best possible resources. My logic and thinking is I'm going straight to the horse's mouth, in that I'm going to pursue Aristocrat at this point to query their system and their database and get the training for whoever our new candidates would be. And marketing went a little different route. They identified a partner, and next slide please, Oz. In that partner, they were able to connect us with Casino Science. Now I'm going to give credit to marketing where credit is due. I thought the horse's mouth would be going straight to Aristocrat to query their database. I didn't think of actually tapping into a marketing resource that could tap into the Microsoft tools themselves, which has proven amazing to us. As Oz mentioned, oh, that was before the start of our presentation, I'm sorry. We met each other. I was very impressed with the way Oz handled himself. He was able to very quickly analyze our environment and our situation that we were in, and he quickly formulated the solution action plan. We identified our resources, and he confirmed our selection of resources in the team that we had put in place, and he quickly gave them core SQL training. And basically the team, as mentioned, worked as a SWAT team. They interacted with each other, even though they were new to pulling data, and I'm just still amazed how quickly that came together. And the best part about all of it was Oz and Casino Science introduced us to Power Query and Power BI. And basically, Power Query and BI have really, as I mentioned earlier, we're dealing with SQL 2000, and the way the Power Query add-on works through Excel to interface with that older database system. I would have thought I had a whole new SQL system out there. It's wonderful, and it's very effective for our current marketing team. And basically, like I mentioned, the marketing team actually went up me here, and they actually indirectly upgraded that whole system by bringing in Casino Science into play. I apologize for my speech. And I'm very appreciative of it, and that it's worked well for our casino. Next slide, please, Oz. So what has been our ultimate impact of the engagement? Well, first off, Oz and Casino Science basically mentored our marketing DBA team. They didn't have anything to follow. As mentioned, we had outdated resources as far as documentation of how to do anything. He quickly took our team and educated them quickly on what they need to be doing as far as manipulating our data. And he, again, opened our eyes to available Microsoft resources tools such as the Power BI and Power Query. And the best thing for me, money-wise, as far as my IT budget goes, is I did not have to renew that ATI support contract. They were trained so strong that it wasn't needed. I thought I would have to renew that in order to support the many questions they would have. And honestly, the tools that Oz brought to place there are outstanding, and them guys caught on quickly. So there's credit to them as well. I'm not going to short play the team themselves. They are brilliant, and they've done very well. And we actually, prior to Casino Science coming in and bringing us these tools that were free, they're from Microsoft, they're existing in our environment, we were behind fiscal plan actually. And between February and March, we went from negative to a 30% increase in our EBITDA swing to actually put us ahead of plan now, which is impressive. If anybody knows about EBITDA and revenues, that's incredible. We've had excellent follow-up and support from the Casino Science team, and my best part is my final point here is, I can focus on IT, and that's my comfort zone, to be honest with you. So I'm very thankful to Casino Science and Oz and Microsoft and actually to my marketing team as well, my marketing heads as well. We work well together, and I look forward to many years of working forward with them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. And I have to also say, it's not only Casino Science here. We had a great group of folks with LCO, and we can talk about this a little bit, the data team that you guys put together there, because I think that also really contributed to the success. But it was not only the Casino Science folks, but I do like to take that credit. I think that the great thing here is that you guys have a really great story, and you're progressing down this data path, which I think is really great. But what made it really successful for you guys is that you guys recognized that you needed to have some training in place, and I wanted to share a few points on things to consider when you're actually building out this type of training, because this is actually it's important when you're actually going down that route to get a group of folks together and trained appropriate for these technologies. The first thing is that be inclusive. Anyone, and I actually mean absolutely anybody, regardless of your team's current skill sets, anyone can learn the technologies necessary to make them effective with data. There is absolutely no rocket science to any of the things that folks need to learn about leveraging these types of tools and technologies to make sense out of data. And anyone can be that data nerd. The second thing is just do it. It goes to this notion that if you really want to be effective with data, you just have to, the best way to learn is to just do it. And you just have to roll up your sleeves and dive into the data head first. It is absolutely the best way to learn. And then last, and this is probably a little bit more fun, is just have fun. Data is very liberating and it's very, very empowering, but it's also a ton of fun to learn new insights and apply those insights in really creative ways. Okay, so with that, what I'd like to do, we're going to shift over and we're going to jump into some questions. And there's a whole slew of questions here that I want to start asking. And let's start with the first question that's come here is, do the marketing folks still ask questions or make requests of the IT team, or are they completely self-sufficient? And I'm going to give this question to Dave.
Yeah, well, for the most part, to be honest with you, lately, within the past month or so, they've become very self-sufficient. The questions are minimal at best. I would say that, one of the cool things is they've taken, since Oz has left, they've actually taken some of the stuff they've learned from the structured queries that they were using Power Query for, and kind of hybriding it into the old environment to drill down even deeper on some of the data that they're pulling. And they're doing that all on their own. So they've been really empowered, to be honest with you. Compared to before Casino Science come into the casino marketing environment for us, till now, it's night and day. And really mentored a strong team there. I'm very impressed with them. I'm very happy to work with them as well.
So, Dave, there's another question that's come in. With 3 IT people, how many people did you have in marketing that you could train to work through this? So I think this question is going to the total number of folks that were involved in the training. And I guess you could also elaborate, were there IT people that participated in that training?
Yeah, well, we started out, and as mentioned, IT kind of focused on IT, and that once we brought you in, Casino Science, Oz, we helped with the setup as far as setting up, make sure you had the right tools to be able to train the marketing team, and then we were able to focus on IT. Now, we originally had intended to be able to be trained as well alongside marketing, and just the business demand didn't allow it. The lucky part is your training was so strong that I was able to go back after the fact, and my marketing team that you had trained was actually able to show me a lot of the tools that you had showed them, and I've received training from them, actually.
Nice, nice. You mentioned something during your talk that actually struck me, and this is actually something that everyone actually faces. All folks actually face, especially the small to mid-sized casinos. The impact of legacy systems. So we all know, for a lot of folks out there, they're running like older versions of Aristocrat. How big of a problem does that create when you have older versions of software that are running in your environment?
To speak for our environment, the older Aristocrat legacy system that is in there currently is still the serial system, and it really handcuffs us as far as security goes. We cannot get past any of the workstations that have to use that system. We can't upgrade any further than Windows XP at this point. So we're handcuffed pretty tight security-wise, and that can lead to dollars eventually if I can't get that system upgraded soon from a capital investment standpoint. And it looks like that's going to happen this year, and I'm really happy about that, and I'm actually glad you asked that question, because ultimately the business portion of the casino is about dollars and cents, and sometimes you got to paint that picture clearly. And I think being involved with Casino Science, as well as bringing in the new Microsoft technologies that brought that subject to the forefront, where before it was just kind of poo-pawed by my executive team, they really understood at this point that we really needed to upgrade our environment and invest a little bit of capital when we can get it.
Right. And I think there's also this other great thing, certainly when I was on site at LCO, we talked a lot about, well, can these technologies be used with these older versions of software? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Yes.
And you guys had enormous success using Power Query and Power BI, connecting to these old legacy systems, and connecting also to that older version of SQL Server.
And just to add, that extra $140,000 I'm saving per year on that support contract can go towards upgrading the speed of that slot floor.
Yeah, yeah. So there are some interesting questions that are actually coming in now. Are there any issues? And I'm going to actually, there are two questions that in some ways they're actually related here. But let me mention both of these questions. Are there any issues connecting to a live database? That's the first question. And then the second question, the BI tools you implement, are they pointing directly to transactional databases, or are you implementing a data warehouse, cubes as well? So Dave, why don't you talk a little bit about how they're set up? You don't point directly to your production systems.
No. Let me speak on that a little bit. I apologize that I didn't cover that. Actually, one of the best practices that you brought into place, helping us, and it's just strictly a developmental best practice, was we were dealing with a new marketing team, and so I was nervous about all of that going on in our live environment as well, and basically Oz and I worked together to come up with the idea of actually creating on one of our test servers a test environment. So technically the test environment has become our live environment as far as querying and pulling our data goes. We just basically once a month copy our live database over to the test database, and they work out of there as much as they want. That way we do not have to worry about damaging our live data, and we can restore it as many times as needed. But they've been very good, and we've had no issues with it whatsoever, and it's a great practice to do that if you have the disk space to do it.
Yeah, and I want to add on here as well. There are many different ways that you can actually query into that data. It doesn't have to, like we set it up as a part of this reporting server that was got I believe we set it up as either, I think it was a daily or a weekly feed from the production systems. The uber point on this, though, is that you don't want to necessarily query directly against your production system, because these are mission critical systems that are you don't want to have any type of downtime. So you need to come up with some solution, and that could be a reporting server that's segmented away from your production systems, or this is a data warehouse that you've put together, or there are multiple solutions that you can come up with. But again, the uber point is you don't want to necessarily go directly against your production systems.
And another point on that is specifically with the legacy Aristocrat Oasis system, is that when you do your marketing queries, if you did it in the live environment, which was the past practice, you had to get on that system when there were no players on the system. And so in a 24/7 environment, that could be rough, but utilizing the practice of copying the database over and querying against that, you don't have to come in at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning to do your marketing querying. You can do it any time of day you want, because there will not be no player locks on any record at that point.
Right. There's another question that's come in here. How long did it take for the team to learn the technologies and then be productive with them?
It didn't take long. I mean, they were doing pretty good by the time you even left after a week, correct, Oz?
Yeah.
So I would say, and I mean, it would depend on, one of the things I didn't mention is what we were in a position where we had to identify resources available to us when it comes to our people that we put together for that team. And so it depends on who's on that team, how quick they learn. I mean, the learning curve is different for everybody. Luckily, we chose the right candidates, and within that week's time of Oz being on site and helping us, by the end of that week, they were pretty much ready to roll with very few questions.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I would add here is, a lot of people think then again that if we're going to have our marketers connect up to that data, how are they going to do it? Will they actually have the skills? And again, if you think about these tools and these technologies, that uses the similar, because it's a Microsoft technology and it integrates with tools like Excel. People are already familiar with these types of technologies, so it doesn't really take that much effort to actually figure out some additional things. Obviously, if you're using tools like Power BI, there's just a little bit of a learning curve. But for the most part, because it uses a common, the applications are very common between all the Microsoft tool sets. it's very easy for people to actually start to figure things out. So you have to think about it in that respect, that there's the training that you think that you'll need for your folks is not going to be as difficult, and the learning curve for your folks is not going to be as steep because they're already using tools that are incredibly familiar to most folks.
Exactly. They use Excel. Basically, Power Query is just an Excel add-in. That's all, and it looks just like your regular Excel spreadsheet. You don't have to deal with the interface of the antique, in our case anyways, in the old query analyzer on SQL 2000.
So I have a bunch of more questions here. Let's do this one here. What was the team's level of Excel, SQL, and BI experience going into the training they received? What level of SQL are they using after the training?
Okay. Well, number one, the good thing about the team's Excel experience were, two of the team members that came into place, they were already using Excel, in that one come from our auditing department, so he was familiar with putting together numbers in Excel, and the other one came from our slot performance team, which I'm guessing he wasn't so used to using Excel all the time, but he was very tech-minded, so it really helped. They balanced each other out, so they had pretty good experience with Excel. The next question is, what version of SQL were we using after the training? SQL 2000. That's where we're handcuffed with our legacy system. We can't upgrade any further until we upgrade or change out our slot system. And so we still have SQL 2000, but it's got a beautiful interface with that Power Query as well as the Power BI.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing that I'd add here is that the training that they received, the marketing folks received, they started off on just basic SQL queries, but that training was very, very quick. We went through the building SQL queries really, really quickly, and we focused on other pieces of the Microsoft stack that would add immediate value, things like Power Query for Excel and Power BI. But at its very foundation, it was really the SQL training was kind of the starting point for all of that. And now that team has actually become much more sophisticated when it comes to building SQL queries. The nice thing also about tools and technologies like Power Query is that, in many ways you actually don't need to learn how to build really, really complex SQL queries and do really, really complex joins across multiple data sources. Because the nice thing about Power Query is that a lot of the challenges around those technologies, they're abstracted away, and it becomes more of a point and click type of thing. So learning these types of technologies, it tends to be very, very easy then. I have another question here. How do you know if you need to invest in additional BI capabilities? So this is actually a really great question. I'll answer this question. I sometimes come across a lot of operators who ask me, hey, we're looking at investing in this type of a BI capability, or we're thinking of investing in this. And and they ask me, what do I think? And usually I say, well, you should focus on the types of problems that you want to solve, because the problem that you want to solve will usually dictate the technology, the tool that you're going to need to solve that type of problem. Now, there are a bunch of things that a lot of new vendors are doing today that go well beyond the types of tools and technologies that are available from what you see today, like things like predictive analytics, things like campaign management, things like location analytics. There are these additional types of capabilities that go one step further that require you to do significantly more, and actually do require that you have like a developer or an IT person who can actually build these types of technologies. I think once you start to see those types of things, then you do need to start thinking about, okay, well, now if I'm getting a different type or different category of problem, now I think it would make sense for me to actually start to invest in some newer capabilities here.
Hey, Oz, can I speak to that real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
I think, the question is, how do you know if you need to invest into different types of, or look into different types of BI technologies? Well, I can tell you that prior to, we were blanket sending out offers, meaning that, everybody got their free play. We didn't know how to segment better and pinpoint who we were going to go after with the right type of offers. And, one of the things that, just you brought into on board was we knew what we were pulling data-wise, and then we can start to structure a little different rather than everybody gets an offer, everybody gets free play, come on in everybody. We're getting to know our customer better, and that if you find yourself in your casino locations sending the same offers and not really knowing who you're pinpointing or anything like that, then I would say from just a layman's IT casino standpoint, you might want to look in different ways to skin that cat and to pinpoint a little bit better.
Yeah, and again, there are ways that you can do that on your own. There are additional capabilities that you could actually go out and purchase that could actually look at those types of things, like very targeted promotion building. This is, or using behavioral analysis or machine learning. That's a big buzzword these days, to actually figure out who you should target promotions for. These types of capabilities are certainly things that really go well beyond the types of core capabilities that you have with Power BI or Power Query or other things on the Microsoft stack. But there are, this is a good opportunity then to start to see, would it make sense for me to go out and start to invest in some targeted types of solutions to solve these very, very targeted types of problems.
Exactly.
We've got just a couple of minutes left, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to see if we've got any other questions here, and I've got this one really great question here. What would you recommend as a strategy for convincing casino leaders to make this type of training investment?
This is directed to me?
Yeah.
Repeat the question one more time.
Okay, so what would you recommend as a strategy for convincing casino leaders to make this type of training investment?
Got it. I guess it could be a tough question. It could be an easy question in that, it depends on who your casino leadership is. I would say that, number one, we all understand the fact that for the most part, marketing really is the bread and butter. They're the people that are going to bring the people through the door. If we're doing the same thing over and over and you feel that you've tapped your market out and your leadership team feels that, I would, work with Oz here actually and get a copy of the recorded demonstration, because I myself, I can tell you that kind of was a little bit of the mentality previously, was that we've kind of tapped out our market here, but we're seeing the results at the end where that number one, we're saving money IT wise as far as sport contracts, but number two, we're bringing more people through the doors because we now know what we're looking at when we're pulling data.
Great. We're going to do one more question. This question just came in. To what extent was IT previously responsible for adding guest offers to the production database? And has this process changed since adopting Power BI or other technologies?
Can you repeat that one more time, Oz?
Yeah, so to what extent was IT previously responsible for adding guest offers to the production database? And has this process changed since adopting Power BI or other technologies?
Marketing has always been responsible for adding the offers to the database, but basically it fell upon IT when the DBA did quit. And so that was kind of a little bit of a learning curve, but as soon as we identified the candidates to move over into marketing from their respective areas, the responsibility went right back to marketing as far as putting the offers into the database. We work hand in hand with marketing, as well as we use the MGT product as far as offers and offer redemption and kiosks and stuff like that. But it was always a marketing responsibility until the DBA quit. Short answer.
Okay, great. Well, with that, I would like to thank Dave from LCO for presenting today. Thank you, Dave. And I would like to thank Don Leonetti from Microsoft for being a moderator. And additionally, I would like to thank all the great folks over at Raving Consulting, where I'm a Raving partner, for putting the word out on today's webinar. Casino Science, it delivers robust analytics and business intelligence solutions, as well as provides comprehensive training. So we do have a set of solutions that, BI solutions that go beyond just providing those basic types of training things to leverage existing technologies. On today's call, you've heard a lot from me and from Dave, but it does take a village to raise a child, and we have a bunch of folks available to assist and answer questions, including Lee Angman, who's the Casino Science VP of Business Development. And both Lee and I are available to answer questions. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you again, and have a good rest of your day.